Hello, everybody. Welcome. Muse Medicina here. I am back with my decolonizing medicine series. Um, this one I wrote is just about reconnecting to what is female and male reproductive health. So I received a question or a request rather from a human individual who I've worked with before, specifically speaking to performance, that this isn't a male individual. And I've had a few patients in my career who have come looking to be helped with male performance, aka impotence. Um, and so there's a lot to understand here from a natural medicine perspective that a lot of us don't understand. So I'm just going to go for it and talk about it. I did write something on my Instagram story, which was hilarious. I was like, let's talk about sex. And then my text didn't transfer. So it was just like a really awkward picture of me being sexy. And oh man, my partner was laughing at me. And now it's gonna be a joke forever. But I'm like, let me just share things, and he's like, wow, I didn't know you were sharing like that. I'm like, yeah. Okay, but I'm talking about health here. So in general, decolonizing medicine to me really has a lot more to do with advocating for agency, advocating for autonomy, especially in Black and brown bodies, especially in bodies of the formerly enslaved and genocided upon, of the lineages of rape that we have now come in this generation, in my generation, to heal from that. It is very clear to me that even just one generation before, there's still so much shame we're operating on, especially when it comes to sex, especially because of Catholicism and colonialism and Christianity, and how it's oh, it sounds windy. Interesting. It's because let's put you over here. Is that better? The windy sounding? Sorry, my other thing. Is it the white noise machine or my computer? Is that better, Instagram?
If it's on Instagram.
Instagram, is that better? Let me know. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about performance, sexual performance, reproductive health. So I want to start by talking about, thank you, good. Start by talking about the kidneys according to Chinese medicine. So according to, there's so much background. You go to school for a long time for this and you learn a lot about a lot of things. According to Chinese medicine, the organ in charge of sexual and reproductive health is, or rather are, the kidneys. The kidneys store what is called the primordial qi, and the primordial qi is like, it's also called jing. I can't remember what tone. I think it's first tone. Jing is what makes up is our essence. So this is the power, the oomph, the reserves that are bestowed upon us at conception by our parents. So not all people have the same kind of jing. Not all people are given the same amount or strength of jing. So some things, because jing is our life essence, some things that might affect our jing are age, the older we are, different kinds of traumas we've experienced. So people who've gone through wars or genocide or Holocaust or all kinds of effed up stuff, it will affect your genes. So you might call kidney essence, which is what we're talking about, the precursor for the epigenetic maker that you get upon conception. Now, some other things that would affect your jing in utero are the nutrition of your mother. The older the parents get, according to Chinese medicine, the less jing one might have to offer. Jing is also affected by different kind of cosmological things, or the weather, whether you were conceived of rape, etc. There are so many different factors that might affect the quality of jing you receive from your parents upon conception. So Jing also is the house of our sexual energy, and specifically, we said sexual energy. I got this card. Look at that. Look at that. And specifically, the energy of that you have to offer during your sexual experiences. So this is from a physiological perspective. And when in Chinese medicine, as a physician, you are assessing a patient for their reproductive health, what you are assessing is the kidney yin, or the feminine, cooling, wet blood fluids aspect, and the kidney yang, which would be the like effort, air, strength, force aspect. Okay, now in general, women are bestowed with more yin, and we use more yin, and men are bestowed with more yang and use more yang. So for a woman, the essence, or the kidney yin, is we have problems of yin more than we have problems of yang. And for a male, you have problems of yang more than you have problems of yin. So for this video, for succinct purposes, I'm going to keep it to the kidney essence and kidney yin and yang. When it comes to feminine reproductive issues, there's a lot more, at least in my scope of practice, that we would talk about. If you are interested in observing at least some of that, and I will continue to make videos, you can go to my YouTube channel, Muse Medicina, and there's some stuff on menstruation. Excuse me. You can also follow people on Facebook and Instagram who are specific women's health experts. My favorite is Indigimama, Indigimama. Go and follow her and take her classes about women's health issues. And or if you have menstruation issues, as well as educating yourself about all the different hows and whens and whys and wheres, etc., go see a Chinese medicine practitioner. Chinese medicine is so amazing for any kinds of issues of flow or pain. Okay. Different masculine of center, women, femme of center, men, trans folks, and or non. Is that different for masculine? So I'm specifically talking physiologically, as far as your organ cells. So I'm not being this isn't about gender. This is about organs. I don't know what kind of effects, for instance, taking estrogen or taking testosterone would have from my understanding of Chinese medicine, but I'm specifically talking kidney yin and kidney yang in organs. And as far as yin and yang, as I only understand it from a physiological point of view of having testicles or having ovaries. So I'm sorry if that's not, it's super duper gender inclusive. I'm just coming at it from my physiological understanding. Either way, I think the understanding will be helpful in general, because men and women both have yin and we both have yang. And when it comes to the physiological ramifications of using up our yin and yang, it usually presents in the same kind of way, regardless of how you gender identify. So I hope that's helpful. Okay, so kidney yin. When my intention for this was talking about the reproductive health, and when it comes to problems of yin deficiency, it happens in lifestyle circumstances that would deplete the yin. And this could cause things like blood deficiency or fluid deficiency, so that you have a hard time bleeding. You don't have enough blood to have a smooth flow. This presents itself as nutrition deficiency in the diet space. This presents itself as not drinking enough water. This presents itself as having fluid issues in your joints as well. And the biggest thing I was thinking of is having issues during menopause. Once you reach crone age and it's time to have the change of life, things like night sweats and hot flashes. So because yin is the more feminine energy, a yin deficient presentation would have a lot of heat issues or heat presenting symptoms. So it feels like it's heat problems, like you have too much heat, but it's actually deficient heat because you don't have enough fluids, enough cooling, things of cooling nature. So there are a lot of ways with herbs and lifestyle changes that you can deal with that. So getting to what was asked of me as far as impotence goes, um, that is generally a kidney yang issue. Now, I also want to address that yin and yang in Chinese medicine cannot be separated. The separation of yin and yang is death. Okay, so when it comes to any kind of non-binary issue, all humans in Chinese medicine, as far as a physiological understanding, are constantly in dynamic movement of yin and yang, of feminine, masculine, of hot and cold, of day and night, etc. So when somebody is yin deficient, chances are they're also yang deficient, because like you can't, they're interconsumptive. So if one is being too taken up, it's taking energy from the other one, and in which case they both end up out of whack. So in kidney yang deficient issues, which is like hardness, lack of hardness, or lack of being able to become aroused, we're looking at yang deficiency, and that looks like being cold a lot, being still a lot, maybe having a lot of phlegm in your diet, as in too much sugar, too much greasy foods, too much pasta, that can quell the yang or make the yang heavy. It also looks like burning the candle at both ends for both yin and yang deficiency. So work hard, play hard. Alcohol is huge when it comes to spending your yin and your yang, because it's excess of both. Any kind of abuse of mind-altering substances, no matter what it is, or just substances in general, cigarettes included, weed included, not even to mention their specific chemical compositions that may add or detract from different syndromes across the scientific board. Just in general, using things that would alter your consciousness. The idea in Chinese medicine is that they act as like catalysts, like keys to unlock parts of your primordial essence to then be used excessively in your body. So that's why you have the mind altering part, because it like unleashes extra from your own reserves that then get spent. Okay. So when it comes to deficient kidney yin and yang, one, they go together. Two, they are constantly at odds with an American Western lifestyle, which is really unfortunate, because we are all living this lifestyle, especially the work hard, play hard culture. So we want to understand what we're doing in our lives that would be depleting to us and shift to restorative practices. Mantak Chia, Mantakchia, even though I've heard some different contentious things about him, what I've read was really enlightening and helpful on longevity practices for both men and women to retain Jing or retain primordial essence. One of the exercises includes men masturbating until they're about to ejaculate, but not, and then re-uptaking the potential ejaculate into the cerebrospinal fluid, and not actually coming or ejaculating. That does not mean you do not orgasm. The whole thing about longevity is orgasming without ejaculating. So also, according to Chinese medicine, the biggest Jing depleter for men is ejaculation. So the more you masturbate and ejaculate, the more essence you're giving off, the less you will have for like actual sexy time. Super duper 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 depleting is ejaculation, according to Chinese medicine. For women, it is childbearing. Go figure. Child rearing, breastfeeding. My mom told me today that in Nahuatl, they call parents teta, which is like what we call a bottle, or like your nipple, your chichi, your like offering. And I was like, yeah, because your kids suck you dry. And we laughed about it because now I'm a mom and I get it. It's a lot. My kid's asleep. I hope you didn't hear that. I'm sorry, Hito. I love you no matter what. Okay. So we're talking about releasing essence, losing essence. Okay, so for women, it's child rearing. So basically what we want to do when we are talking about our reproductive health is restore our essence. So that looks like sleeping better. That looks like not using substances that deplete you. That looks like meditating, like instead of going and working 40 hours and then partying and then going to work out and spend energy. You want to keep some of that energy, right? So that's from a very basic physiological understanding of Chinese medicine. I highly recommend, if you are having these kind of issues, before you go to the Western doctor, go to an Ayurvedic practitioner, go to a Chinese medical practitioner, go to a Mexica traditional medicine practitioner, because they are going to shift your diet intake that's going to tonify or add energy to your kidneys and or reproductive systems. They are going to do body work that might break up any kind of physiological stuff. And if you go to like a curandero or curandera, they're also going to do the spiritual kind of work that you need to help overcome some things that might not be physiological. So I want to move into that. A lot of our sexual stuff, the person who contacted me is a homosexual man, who was saying that he was having problems. I think what I got from it is like when he got there, like performing. So if I were doing an intake on him, I would ask questions like, what was it like when you came out to your family? What are the belief systems hi Elizabeth, I love you. What are the belief systems in your family surrounding sexuality? Was it hard? What's your relationship with your father like? What was your first experience like? Yeah. Our trauma is stored in our cells. It's stored in our body. So even like earlier when I got super embarrassed about putting this thing on my Instagram story that I thought had text and it just said like sex with a fucking eggplant, I was like, God. And I got so embarrassed. But that's because I was raised Catholic and I was raised to be ashamed of my sexuality. Right? So that still lives in me, even though I've given birth naturally. I've had multiple sexual partners. I'm in a, relationship. I'm both feminine and masculine. I have been in relationships with men and women. Like I have all of this stuff, and I still got embarrassed. Right? So point is, our sexual trauma lives in us. Since I've given childbirth and I tore in my vagina when my son's head came out, it's been different. Sex has been different. There's trauma that lives in my body that I also have to address. So when it comes to how you're performing sexually, you want to ask these questions to yourself, to your patients, like what belief systems, what traumas are stored, okay? And a practiced physician, practitioner, a shaman, etc., somebody, hi Angelina, somebody who is able to deal with that can, right? So there are these practitioners who can literally go into your cells with the help of the higher powers, or maybe the help of the energy of their hands, depending on their who taught them and how they were taught. There are people that can energetically and spiritually, etc., remove these traumas from the body, and the traumas are mental, are emotional, are physical, are spiritual. So something that might happen is there might be a heaviness feeling, and then a bunch of crying happens, and then some like extraction happens and some screaming happens, and there's a lightness, and then the person sees their grandmother or something like that. That's just came out of my head. But there is a lot of there's a vast breadth of this is very deep. This is very nuanced. It's very layered, how our sexual and our reproductive health appears. Also, a big, huge question, and again, the right practitioner is going to be able to help this, our ancestral trauma. Okay, when I had a full limpia, or maybe it wasn't full, but the first time I met Banquetani, I mean, Dije Mama, was at a medicine meeting, a ceremony we went to together, and she worked on me, and I literally saw like all of my foremothers, all of my grandmothers, and the message that they gave me is we were all raped. Personally, I've never been raped, gracias a Dios, but all of my foremothers were raped. Every single woman in my line until me has been raped, and I was literally carrying that in my womb. And I had to get that removed from my womb so that I could conceive a child. Before my son, I'd never been pregnant, not once. So there are a lot of these things. So when it comes to a man, probably a lot of men in history, men tend to be rapists, not to be shitty about it, but and not to also be completely one-sided about that. Society's effed up, the patriarchy's effed up, and people don't know how to connect on a real level, and that's also traumatic for the men, okay, to have to be doing that. And I believe this comes from the witch hunts in the old Europe, and watching mothers and sisters, etc., be burned at the stake, and the separation that men had to do from their heart space to women, and the sickness that exists in the white cis hetero supremacist patriarchy that allows that to keep happening. The prison industrial complex, the medical industrial complex, even so many women claim, and I believe it, that they feel, well, I've seen it, and not just I believe it, I've literally seen this as a doula in the medical industrial complex, women be violated over and over and over again by practitioners. It's effed up. That kind of trauma can live in our bodies. Okay, so when it comes for this person, when their partner shows up and they're unable to perform, there's a lot of potentially unconscious complications going on in that moment, right? What your father stuff, your grandfather stuff, the lineage of sexual trauma, abuse, and maybe it's a man who was raped by another man, and there's so much going on there. So this is just to give you all, as I love to do, as is part of my dharma, a more nuanced understanding of what's going on with your body. I am an agency advocate. I'm an autonomy advocate. So I want you guys to be able to put pieces together that include your physiology, your spirituality, your ancestry, to understand what's going on with you, and so you have the power to heal yourself. As always, and I will always say this, question everything I say, research everything I say, including everything that any of your doctors ever say, ever. If you get a diagnosis, get at least 3 different opinions, at least, from different modalities. Don't just go to the Western doctor and then go down the hall and get another Western opinion. Get 3, at 4, or 10. The more perspectives you have, the more able you're going to be to make a educated choice, not only from your head, but from your gut, from your heart, from what feels like a yes to you. And as a practitioner who's been working in the healing realms for a long time now, I've found that people who are going at things from a lot of different angles, who follow their yeses and find the practitioners for them, those are the people who are getting well, because they are working. They're working for it, and they're actually trying to understand what's going on with them. And it might be somebody gets a sobada or a massage from this person, a spiritual healing from this person, and some different nutraceuticals from this person, and some herbs from this person, and all of it together with your own personal work and connection to your own understanding of your body is what's going to, every little thing's going to add up to your healing. Okay, so you got to work for it. All right, so I just heard my son crying, so I'm gonna go. Thank you for watching this, and I am going to block people who make inappropriate comments, FYI, that's not okay. And if you want to support me, please do so. Join my Patreon. Drop some money in my Venmo, my Cash App, or my PayPal, eutimia@gmail.com. And I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Thanks for watching. Ciao.